All right. So again, thank you so much for coming on out. We're going to start with a word of prayer and get our session started here. So Courtney, please go ahead. Get us started.
Will do. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for your loving kindness towards us. And Lord, as we start this health meetup, we ask that you would be with the presenters. We ask that you would be with us as we learn these all this new information to keep our health better and to live better. We ask that we will just put these things in our lives and make them very practical. And we thank you for what you've given us in nature. So many times it's so forgotten that you've put things in nature to really help us along. But we're glad that we have this opportunity this evening to really take a look at that. We ask all these things in your son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. I want to try sharing my screen. And I got to tell you, when you use PowerPoint with these programs, sometimes it just doesn't want to work too well. So let me do this. And why can't I find my Zoom? Okay, here we go. We have a wonderful opportunity today to learn a little bit more about the immune system. And we have with us presenting Mrs. Serena Scott. Before we actually get started with that tonight, I just want to remind everyone that this is sponsored by the All Nations Fellowship, Seventh-day Adventist Church. Our nonprofit arm, Community Outreach, Inc., provides this service, and we are just really interested in helping people to be healthier. If you look at the statistics, it doesn't look really good, especially here in the United States and a lot of places around the world. People are continuing to get sicker at younger ages. And so just wanting to help you realize and remind you that this is an informational presentation. It is not intended to do anything more than just provide some information. Please join our Facebook group if you haven't yet done so, Natural Health Enthusiasts. And this provides for us an opportunity to even continue our conversation, answering questions in a group format. And we are also wanting you to know that if you ever want to have a private consultation with any of our presenters, Dr. Thomas from last month, tonight, Mrs. Serena Scott, or myself, just know that there is a way, and in our Meetup site, which is through many of you, all of you on the Zoom call have come through that. There's a link inside that will allow you to reach out to us directly as coaches. Also want you to know that nothing here is intended to diagnose, prescribe, or just even treat in any way. And nothing that we say or our presenters say should be taken as medical advice. There's several reasons for that. And just wanting to be sure to remind you that we are not physicians, but we are health coaches and health professionals in the natural arena. And it is just a beautiful thing when we can count on what God has provided for us through nature to be able to heal. So at this time, our presenter, Mrs. Serena Scott, I'd like you all to give a virtual hand to Miss Serena Scott because she just recently became a certified master herbalist. So let's do the virtual applause. Right? Let's hear you. And so we know that you have an interest, I call you Miss Serena, in natural health and just the wonderful attributes that we can find through nature. I am wondering if you would be able to also tell us a little bit more about yourself, things that you do other than the natural health world.
Sure. Thank you so much, Michael. And So in addition to being a master herbalist, one of the things that I also do and love is to teach. I work with kids, children, and I teach Spanish and music, piano, that is. And I've been doing that for many, many years. And I have created a lot of products and materials for Spanish teachers to use in their classes. So that's something that I love to do. And I'm also love to read and compose and play the piano. So these are things that I love to do in addition to being an herbalist.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. You know, it's just great to get to know our speakers, our presenters, realizing that life is not just a single path. We touch it through many areas, and it's good to know that you also have other interests and other things that you love doing. Tonight is a very special presentation. We talked quite a bit over several months and weeks just about natural health and autoimmune disorders and how all of that research is coming together. And I know there are a host of websites that really provide answers to a lot of the questions that people in our audience have. As a health ministry for our church and as people who are really interested in helping others live the lifestyle that is more healthy, what are some of the things that you're finding in the natural health world as an herbalist that would be good for our audience to know before you actually start your presentation?
What will be something good for them to know?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of environmental factors that affect our health. So we need to be aware of that. And that's why I'm always stressing the importance of cleaning the body, detoxing, and taking care of it and strengthening the immune system, because we are literally bombarded everywhere with it. So that's something that we need to be aware of. I was not aware of that before. And now I have become more aware of it, and I try to help others to also become aware.
Fantastic. That's a wonderful place to start. I mean, in any health regimen, yes. And that is to clean up the body, clean up the cells, clean up the intestines, clean up everywhere. And so we're going to turn over the presentation to you at this time. And let me see if I can get the next slide to advance. There it is. Okay. So we're talking about autoimmune disorders. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Ms. Serena Scott with this topic for this evening.
Okay, well, good evening to everyone, and thank you for being with us here this evening. So as Michael said, today we are going to be looking at autoimmune disorders in general terms, that is, and we will be discussing a real-life case study dealing with an autoimmune disorder. So throughout this presentation, we'll also be looking at several short videos with doctors and other experts sharing some simple but powerful lifestyle changes that we can do to remain healthy. So I would like to start out by defining what is an immune disorder. So an autoimmune disorder is a malfunction of the body's immune system, causing the body to attack its own tissues. So normally the immune system is there to defend us. It can distinguish what is self from what is not self. So anything that gets inside of your body, no matter what it is, the immune system recognizes that it's not part of you and will react against it by producing antibodies to attack the invader or the pathogen. But when the immune system malfunctions, it starts to attack the body's own tissues as if though it was a foreign substance. And that is an immune disorder. So one of the things that happens is that as a result of that, there's inflammation and there's also tissue damage. So what are some health conditions that are associated with autoimmune disorders? According to research, there are more than 80 types of autoimmune disorders. Some of the most common ones include rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, thyroiditis, scleroderma, and lupus. But keep in mind there are way more than just what I just mentioned. These are the most common ones, or the ones that I'm more familiar with. So the next question that came to my mind was, what causes the immune system to malfunction? So I did a regular research on that because I was very curious to find out what I will find. And I read somewhere, in fact, various places actually, I read that many autoimmune disorders have been strongly associated with genetic and or environmental predisposing factors. So I thought about that for a moment. So does that mean that if an autoimmune disorder runs in my family history, it's inevitable for me? I'm just doomed to have it? So while there is some truth to that, because we do have genetic weaknesses, my body is a genetic imprint of my family tree, and your body is a genetic imprint of your family tree. And our cellular strength and weaknesses come from our genetic history. But depending on the environment, your diet and lifestyle choices, we can change that. We can either make our inherent weakness weaker or stronger. So what I have learned is that just because I have a genetic weakness or I may be predisposed to a health condition, it doesn't mean I am doomed to develop that condition. So having a family history of a disease or a condition is not an excuse for me to say, well, it runs in my family. My great-grandmother had it, my grandma, my mom. The lifestyle that one chooses can stop or reverse any health predisposition. And I like how Dr. Joel Kahn, a cardiologist and a best-selling author, puts it. He specifically said, it may be our genes that load the gun, but our lifestyle pulls the trigger. I love that. and he further said that we have the opportunity to change our DNA with what we eat. The food we eat can turn on or off certain genetic pathways that determine whether we become overweight, have high blood pressure, get a disease or not. It's all about lifestyle choices. And this is extremely important to understand because currently each generation is becoming weaker instead of stronger. Today, more than ever, people are consuming and injecting huge amounts of toxins into their bodies. Today, people are not taking care of themselves. And by that, I mean they're not exercising, they're not eating whole foods, they're not drinking enough water, they are not getting proper rest, they're not getting sunshine, they're not breathing pure air, they are stressed, they are not trusting enough or at all in God. And these things may seem trivial or unimportant, but it has a powerful effect on health. So again, what causes the immune system to malfunction? The immune system does not decide one day to stop working or just to backfire on you. It's just like a car. When the car goes bad on us, just suddenly, it's just not because it just decided to stop running. It's because something has not been taken care of. And I mentioned the example of the car because of my own experience. I remember when I got my first car, it wasn't a new car, but I was really excited about it. And I no longer had to depend on anyone to take me around. Some of you may relate to this, but I could go where I needed to go and not have to depend on someone else's schedule. But what I ignored back then is that a car needs proper care. It needs to get its oil change, every so often. It needs the tires needs to be checked, the pressure, and rotate the tires, check the tire pressure, get the brake pads. These things, you need to take care of the car. But I ignored those things, and I just simply drove this car day in, day out, every day. It took me places, and I did not worry about anything, about oil change, anything. And then when I did realize that I had to do an oil change, and then I tried to save some money by having someone do it instead of taking it to a professional and get it done. So somebody did it for me, and somehow something was not sealed correctly or properly, and the oil started to leak out of my car slowly, and I was not aware of that, and I just kept driving my car every day back and forth. And one day, as usual, I got up to drive my car, and as I was on the expressway, I noticed that each time I pressed gas, the car was not accelerating, and I was wondering what's going on. I keep pressing gas, and the car will not accelerate, and the car just came to a stop on the expressway, and I was wondering what's going on. Yesterday I drove the car, it was okay. What happened today? It just stopped on me. And in my frustration on the side of the road, I just thought, well, this car is old and it's giving me trouble. But the bottom line is that I did not take care of my car. I continually use it and abuse it and never took care of it. So I give this example, and this really happened, but it is the same with our bodies. When something goes wrong or malfunctions in the body, we should not blame it on age or genetics. Instead, we should carefully examine our diet, our lifestyle, and see what it is that we are doing continually that is breaking down the body. So what became very clear to me is this. If the body is not getting the proper nutrients and proper care, and if it's continually loaded with toxins, chemicals, heavy metal, all of those things, and on top of that, it is constantly under stress, it is going to malfunction. And these things are things that we ignore or probably don't look into, but these things will break the body down over time. So we are going to take a look at to see what Dr. Hyman has to say about the immune disease. So Michael, could you just play that video for us?
Okay, let me do a new share here. And let me get this up.
What disease affects more women than heart disease and breast cancer combined? Hi, this is Dr. Mark Hyman. Welcome to my blog. Now, what problem affects 24 million Americans but gets only 5% of the National Institute of Health budget for this problem to study the causes? And why is the NIH budget to study this condition only 8% of the budget for studying heart disease and cancer, even though this condition affects more women than breast cancer and heart disease? And why is the number of people with this disease tripled in the last few decades? What is this disease? It's autoimmune disease, and it's an epidemic. And it mostly is off the radar because it comes in so many flavors and types and crosses so many medical specialties that we think of all these problems separately when they're really just one disease with many different colors depending on your age, sex, and genes. In fact, there are over 100 different autoimmune diseases, and they're affecting more and more people. You know the most common ones, right? Rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, inflammatory bowel disease, type 1 diabetes, hypothyroidism, psoriasis, but there are endless more that affect every part of our bodies. But all these are really only one disease because it's a disease where the body's immune system attacks your own tissues rather than a foreign molecule like a bacteria. Something confuses your immune system. And increasingly, that something appears to be the enormous load of environmental toxins we're all exposed to. The new groundbreaking book, The Autoimmune Epidemic, by Donna Jackson-Nakazawa, is a breathtaking piece of investigative journalism seeking the real causes for this epidemic. Her desire to find answers was fueled by her own struggle with autoimmune disease. And now she lays out a very clearly a radical, but unfortunately very true picture of what's happening. But she also provides clear solutions for changes in diet and supplements in our environment that can really help people deal with and even reverse autoimmune disease. We have to realize we're poisoning ourselves with toxins, with metals and 80,000 other industrial chemicals that cause our immune systems to go haywire. We dump 2.9 billion pounds of these into the environment. We pump 6 million pounds of mercury into the environment. It's toxic at parts per million. So what happens? Well, mounting evidence shows that environmental toxins are responsible for a large majority of autoimmune disease. Donna calls these environmental toxins autogens, or foreign compounds that create an autoreaction against the self. So there are a number of other causes besides toxins, including hidden infections, allergens, which are compounded by our poor diet, our processed diet, and stress. But when these insults interact with certain genes that make us sitting ducks, we get sick. But the secret, the hidden secret, is that toxins may be the most important cause setting the stage for the autoimmune epidemic. Now, it's amazing because the government has shut down all the national and regional EPA or Environmental Protection Agency libraries. and has locked all of its papers in basements and blocked all of access to electronic files. This is concerning, and access to public information about toxicity is a sign of democracy. What does it say about our government when it limits access to paper or electronic databases of research? What's being hidden? Now, most toxicity studies are really done on single chemicals and not on the interactions, but we're exposed to this enormous slew of compounds interacting with ourselves all the time. In fact, a recent government survey found that an average of 148 chemicals in our bodies, and those are the only ones they tested. Now, even worse, the Environmental Working Group examined the umbilical cord blood of children just as they emerged from the womb, and they found 287 industrial chemicals, including pesticides, phthalates, dioxins, flame retardants, Teflon, toxic metals like mercury, and this was before these infants even entered the world. What is that doing to us and our children? Now, this is not to mention the toxins even found in our food, which are things like pesticides and so forth, and cleaning agents and pest controls we use in our home, which all contribute to the toxic load in our bodies. Okay, so our conventional approach to autoimmune disease is to shut down the immune response with powerful medications, including anti-inflammatories, steroids like prednisone, anti-cancer drugs like methotrexate, new drugs like Enbrel and Remicade that block the effects of powerful inflammation molecules. But those new drugs slow down your immune system so powerfully that they increase your risk of cancer or life-threatening infections. And they all have frequent and serious side effects and give only partial relief. So these drugs may be life-saving for some in the short run, but in the long run do nothing to deal with the causes. So in the foreword to the book, Dr. Douglas Kerr, who's MD, PhD, a professor at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, said there is no doubt that autoimmune diseases are on the rise and our increasing environmental exposure to toxins and chemicals is fueling the risk. The research is sound, the conclusions unassailable. Now, I have treated hundreds of patients successfully with autoimmune diseases by addressing the causes, the underlying causes, including toxins, allergens, poor diet, and stress. The roadmap of functional medicine and ultra wellness takes us right to the root of the problem. I've even seen this in myself and my wife when I suffered from chronic fatigue and had autoimmune problems that got better with getting rid of my mercury poisoning. I've seen my wife with debilitating arthritis and pain and fatigue who, once she got rid of her heavy metals and toxins, got completely better. And this has also been true of my patients. For each one, I have to find all the causes, right? Toxins, allergens, infections, and poor diet and stress, and deal with all of them while I add back things to the body to help them function properly. But one woman, for example, she had crippling psoriasis and related arthritis. She was 42 and she couldn't walk up and down the stairs or get in a bathtub by herself or properly care for her children. 9 months after we started treatment, including eliminating gluten and other food allergens and removing heavy metals and balancing her immune system and detoxifying her, she walked back into my office, not only 30 pounds lighter, remember, being inflamed makes you fat, but completely free of pain and psoriasis. Another man suffered for years with bloody diarrhea and the pain of ulcerative colitis. Dietary changes and various digestive support helped, but he never got better until we removed the toxins and the mercury from his body. And a recent patient with debilitating fatigue and multiple sclerosis and little white scars on her brain got nearly completely relief of her symptoms after she had the dental fillings, the mercury fillings removed, and went on a comprehensive detox program. And when she repeated her MRI, all the little white scars from the MS were gone. So what can you do if you or someone you love suffers from an autoimmune disease? Well, first, I would buy the Autoimmune Epidemic. It will tell you why we have this problem and how to fix it. Second, I would find a functional medicine doctor who can help you address this. Or maybe come see us at the Ultra Wellness Center in Lenox, Massachusetts. A few other things to think about. Get tested for mercury. Get tested for celiac disease. Look at taking some nutrients that help balance your immune system, such as vitamin D and essential fatty acids and probiotics. Learn to deeply relax, which changes your immune response. And also practice the precautionary principle, which says that we should avoid anything with the potential for harm. In the United States, if something has been proven to be harmful, then we take it off the market. In Europe, something has to be proven safe before it's even allowed on the market. This is also known as better safe than sorry. And I would also learn how to boost your body's own detox system, which I talk about in many of my blogs. So thank you for listening. This is Dr. Hyman.
Thank you, Michael. So that was very insightful. And of everything that he said, what really stand out for me most, I mean, everything was very interesting, but the cause. I mean, I'm just so terrified to see how we are bombarded with so much environmental toxins everywhere, you know, as he mentioned, and we are not addressing the cause. We are treating symptoms, but we are not addressing the cause, and we just need to get rid. And it's interesting how he mentioned how it was not until the toxins and chemicals were removed from the body that it could start to restore. So in order for the immune system or any part of the body to work well, many things can be done. But there are three basic or fundamental things that must be done. Number one, cleanse. Some people call it detox, but we need to cleanse or detox to get rid of the toxic waste and the chemicals and everything that has been accumulated in the body. So when the body is toxic, the blood becomes impure. And when the blood becomes impure, it affects all the organs in the body. The whole body basically becomes toxic. And this causes diseases and inflammation. So cleansing is paramount. The second thing that must be done is to rebuild. How do you rebuild your body? By giving the body the much needed vitamins and minerals that it needs. So we're talking here about a wholesome diet and other like herbal teas and supplements that will help the body and give it what it needs. And the third thing that we'll need to do is to strengthen the body. How do we strengthen the body? By exercising, drinking enough water, proper rest, getting enough sunlight, breathing good air, and so on. So these are three, like the basic or the fundamentals to anything that you plan to do. You want to cleanse, you want to rebuild, and you want to strengthen. Once the body is cleaned, it receives proper nutrients, and it is strong, then it has the building block to regenerate, to restore. So we need to give the body what it needs in order for it to work properly. Okay, so I had the opportunity and the privilege to work with someone very dear to me that was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. And this person is no other than my dear niece, Jocelyn, who gracefully accepted to join us this evening to briefly share her story, experience, and her current journey with this condition. So we're going to talk about here what lifestyle changes was done. We're going to talk about why it was done and the results that we were seeing. Okay, so Jocelyn, will you please introduce yourself and briefly explain what was going on with you right before you were diagnosed with the autoimmune disorder?
Hello, everyone. Like my aunt mentioned, my name is Jocelyn, and I'm 22 years old. I am currently a college student. I'm studying computer science. And like she mentioned, I'm diagnosed with lupus, and I got diagnosed my senior year of college. And because of that, I had to take a break, and I spent some time with my aunt. So yeah. Okay. So before you were diagnosed with lupus, what were some of the symptoms that you were noticing even before you even knew that you had this condition? I would say last summer, I started experiencing the symptoms more severely, and I didn't know what they were. I was experiencing extreme fatigue. I didn't know why I was always tired. Even if I woke up in the morning from a long night of rest, I would still be tired. I had aches in my body, in particular my hands and feet, but I made an excuse for them because I'm like, oh, I'm on my feet all day. I'm using my hands. They're just hurting. And I started getting rashes on my legs.
Okay. So and then how long were you, so how long did you experience this? Was it over like months before, a year before, or it just all happened when you were in college?
It happened in college. I would say I didn't really think of anything. Like, I was young. So if I was feeling tired, it was because of a long night. If I was aching, it was because I was doing something. Like, I had made an excuse. I was feeling this way for about, I would say 6 months before my official diagnosis.
Okay. So you see, the body, what I do notice and what I've learned is that the body has its way to let you know when something is wrong. Okay. But, you know, as Jocelyn said, sometimes we ignore it
or we find an excuse for it, why it's happening, or we just don't take it seriously enough. Or we just blame it on something else, as she said, maybe I'm standing too much, or maybe I didn't get enough rest. So, and then sometimes we think it will just go away, or we make it go away. Mm-hmm. So one thing is that the body never stops working one day to the next like that. It always gives you signs, and we need to pay attention to the signs, what your body is saying to you. Another consideration here is stress. We all go through stress at some point, but college students go through a huge amount of stress. Mm-hmm. So that also contributes to the damage. Okay. So Jocelyn, after you were diagnosed with this autoimmune disorder, we decided to work together, which was really a fun moment. But yeah. I would like you to share with us what was the difficult things that you could not do right before starting your lifestyle change.
Well, when I started with you, my condition had progressively got worse. So I was getting stiff. Instead of experiencing aches, I was getting stiff. I had immense swelling. Parts of my joints would swell up. And I was always in a lot of pain, even when I was on the meds. So when I went to my aunt's house, I think that was around, I would say that's the lowest point I was with my lupus. It was hard for me to get out of bed in the morning. It took me extra long. I could not go upstairs. And if I did, it was just excruciating. It took me way longer than it needed to. So I felt honestly like I was in an 80-year-old person's body, and I didn't know what to do. So I went to my aunt for help.
Okay. So you see, when she came to me, and experiencing all of this, all of this was new for me too. But I do know that when the body has toxic in it, it creates acidosis. So the body was acidic, and then the acidosis create inflammation. And then when there's inflammation, then the body creates excess mucus. So it's like a chain reaction. So all of these things, she was experiencing the pain, all of that because of all the inflammation. So going back to the 3 basics that I mentioned earlier, cleansing the body. So I said, we're going to start on a cleanse. We're going to clean. We are going to rebuild the body, nourish the body, and we're going to strengthen it. We're just going to do those 3 basic things. So we started that cleanse. Now, there are different types of cleanse. Like I prefer a 3-day juice cleanse. Some people do fast as a way of cleansing. Some people will do like fasting for cleansing, or some people might just go like a juice cleanse or fruit cleanse. But what I decided to do for my niece was to go on a raw food diet for the first 2 weeks, because I just thought that it will be better for her body since she was weak and experiencing so much pain. I didn't want to put additional stress on her body if she went through a deeper cleanse, because that would in itself create some healing crisis that she will have to deal with. And I didn't want her to have that additional burden. So I said, let's go on a raw food diet. And really a raw food diet is cleansing in itself. So we decided to do that. And of course, in addition to the raw food, we make sure that her bowels remain working properly, because a lot of times when people are constipated, that's also a way to create buildup of toxins. So we want to make sure that there's no constipation or anything like that going on. So we had 2 weeks of fun raw food. I know Jocelyn thought it was not going to be fun eating raw food, but can you tell us what's your experience with the raw food?
Yeah, like my aunt said, I kind of went in with the mindset like, oh, this is just going to be lettuce all day. My aunt made a special effort to make sure that the food was enjoyable and tasteful, and that it was. I noticed that after 2 weeks, my pain diminished. I wasn't as aching. It was easier for me to get out of the bed in the morning. And even though I still had some pain, I was more mobile, and I saw the benefit of simply just changing your diet.
Right, exactly. Because, raw foods are loaded with enzymes, and the enzymes help to repair damaged, inflamed tissues. So right away, as she started to take that live nutrients into her body, the inflammation started to diminish. Also, raw food is alkalizing, so the body is already acidic, so that's why it's inflamed. So the raw food is highly alkaline. So all that helps to buffer what's going on in her body. So the raw food was really, really, truly helpful. Another thing about raw food is that it empowers the body with nutrition, with energy, and it also helps to clean the lymphatic system as well. Now, I would like us, as Michael could put on the other video that talks about this, doctor explains a little bit more the importance of a raw food diet, especially when you want to rebuild your body.
Get that set up here. I'm going to share my screen again, and we have another video.
One of the deficiencies that we're dealing with, pretty much a majority of us, are enzymes. Enzymes is something that exists naturally within raw food. And when we cook it, we actually destroy a lot of these enzymes. These enzymes are kind of like the workers of the body. They're composed of amino acids and are secreted by your body to help catalyze functions that would normally not occur at physiological temperature. So for instance, if you have a function that normally would take place at, let's say, 200 degrees Fahrenheit, if you add an enzyme, you're then able to maybe do it then at our normal temperature, which is the 98.7. So they literally make magic happen and are absolutely vital to your life. And there are more than 3,000 different enzymes that have been identified. And some experts actually believe that there may be another 50,000 we have yet to discover. So we have these enzymes are crucial, and each enzyme has a different function. It's like 3,000 specialized keys and cut to fit 3,000 different locks. So they activate all these different functions by fitting into a lock and then turning on then a chemical reaction. So in this analogy, the locks are actually these biochemical reactions, and enzymes, they drive biological processes necessary for your body then to build raw materials, circulate nutrients, eliminate the unwanted chemicals, and myriad of other biochemical processes go on without you even thinking about it. So for starters, here's just some of the activities in your body that requires enzymes, so you can see how important they are for your function. So it's much more than just that you need vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, amino acids, different types of sugars. Enzymes are crucial, and you find it in raw food. So here are some things that they do. For energy production, if you're deficient in enzymes, you're going to be exhausted. And they help with the absorption of oxygen. And they actually are the bullets or the chemicals that the immune system uses to fight infections or to heal wounds and to reduce inflammation, also to transport nutrients into your cells, carrying away toxic waste, breaking down fats in your blood. They help to regulate cholesterol and triglycerides, and they dissolve blood clots and also support proper hormone regulation, slowing down the aging process. So as you can see, that's just a huge amount of things that they do. And without them, we would not be alive. Without them, we would not be able to repair anything in our bodies. And we just wouldn't be able to function. And as I mentioned, in the raw foods, that is where we have all these enzymes. And when we cook the food, then we destroy the majority of the enzymes. So that's why it's so important when you're dealing with an inflammatory condition or where you need extra repair or extra support, then to really make sure you supply the body with a large amount of raw foods. And it can be done in a number of ways. For instance, you can be juicing the food, or you can be eating it raw directly. And that will then supply these enzymes that you need in order for the different functions in the body to take place.
Very good. So as you see how powerful it is when the body receive what it needs, it can really act, So the raw food, especially if your body is weak, and it's really depleted of nutrients, it really needs the maximum nutrition it can get. That's why we decided to use the raw foods, because I wanted to strengthen the body, give it the enzyme that it needed. The organs were overworked, they were exhausted. And these raw foods, all it did was just recharge her body. And you know, as soon as she started doing it for those 2 weeks, you know, she was able to notice a difference. So the body gets what it needs. It will work. It will work. Okay, so after the 2 weeks of the raw foods, then I felt that Jocelyn's body was ready for a deeper cleanse now. Okay, so I think she could handle it now. So we went ahead and we did a 7-day juice cleanse. For 7 days, all she drank was green juices, and of course water too, but nothing solid. It was just green juices. So it's kind of still like on the raw food, but in the liquid form this time. Okay, so tell us, Jocelyn, what happened during your 7-day juice cleanse?
Like you mentioned, it was a cleanse. So the first few days, it was a little rough. I felt my body cleaning itself, and it was a little exhausting. But shortly after, I think it was day 3, I started to see a radical change. I was no longer as inflamed. So in my aunt's house, she has these really high chairs, and all throughout the 2 weeks, it took me a while to get on those chairs. It was painful. If I got on them, I knew I would be sitting down for a while because I would not move anytime soon. Like the 3rd day, I just got right off. It was nothing. I didn't need help. I didn't need any assistance. I no longer had swelling in my hands, and I was slowly able to cuff my hands. Like I'm still able to do it because I'm still maintaining the diet. But before then, I could only move my hands like this because the swelling in my joints were so bad. I couldn't do that. I had a lot more energy. We used to take walks in the sun because it was a comprehensive care plan that I was on at my aunt's. So we would take walks. I more than doubled the time I was able to walk. I had energy. I could walk up and down 5 flights of stairs like a normal person. And this was only from the first cleansing. And I wasn't even done. I think I was like maybe day 5 doing all these things. So the cleanse was amazing. It was a little hard in the beginning, but after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing.
Beautiful, beautiful. And the reason why it was easier, because as we started out on the 7 juice cleanse right away, the healing crisis would have been very severe, because then the juicing going in the body will be cleaning out everything, and it would have been difficult. But because we prepared the body before with the raw foods, and we strengthened the body and we nourished the body, it was strong enough to deal with it. But either further healing was taking place, restoration within the body was taking place with the juicing. Juicing is a powerful body rebuilder. I was impressed to see the dramatic results with my niece, because, you know, one thing is to read about it, you know, study about it, what it does. But another thing is to actually see it and experience it and see what really happened. And I was really, it just made me just praise God more for what he created in nature for our bodies. I would like to share, there is a man by the name of Joe Cross. I don't know if any of you have heard about him. He's an entrepreneur and a filmmaker. And he wrote a documentary entitled Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And basically, he's talking about his life. He was overweight, and he was suffering from an autoimmune disorder as well. And he decided to reclaim his health by drinking only fruits and vegetable juice for 60 days. So with this following video, it's really like under 5 minutes long. He's just going to share a little bit of his experience with that. Michael, could you put that video on for us?
Yes, I will. Coming right up.
Okay.
Yeah, let me get back to the slide and we'll go take it from there.
All right, it is day 4 of my ultimate detox cleanse week, and today we are drinking up because America is in the midst of a brand new juicing craze, and I've got the man who some say started it all. 2 years ago, Joe Cross was, in his own words, fat, sick, and nearly dead. To save his life, he did something radical. He hit the road with a juicer in tow, drinking only fresh juice for 60 days. That decision transformed his health. And today, he's sharing his specially created detox juice cleanse that will transform your health in just one weekend. Meet Joe Cross. At 310 pounds, Australian businessman Joe Cross was at a crossroads. Already on a powerful medication for a debilitating autoimmune disease, he was sick, depressed, and at just 41 years old, on the road to an early death. Take a good, hard look at my gut. How many pizzas, burgers, fries, and Cokes do you reckon I inhaled to create that masterpiece? Joe plunged headfirst into making a change. He embarked on a 60-day journey across America, vowing to drink only juice. That looks good, doesn't it? The whole time. Not bad, is it? No. And he captured it all in a documentary, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, that has inspired millions. I put myself there by having a lot of junk food, eating a lot of crap, not eating vegetables, not eating fruits. And he realized his juice cleanse could heal America's obesity crisis.
I sleep really well. I lost 8 pounds.
I'm down 15 pounds. Wow, that's pretty good.
Months later, juice after juice, Joe is now 80 pounds lighter. Please welcome Joe Cross, whose film has touched millions of hearts, including mine. So let's recap. How much weight did you actually finally lose?
In the whole journey, Dr. Oz, I dropped over 100 pounds. Now, that was over 5 months.
So the part that I found most compelling was it really wasn't about weight loss. It was about getting rid of a disease that you had.
Yeah, I had a chronic autoimmune disease called urticaria. You know about this, chronic urticaria angioedema. It's like your whole body lights up like a Christmas tree. I was allergic to touch, Dr. Oz, and that's a terrible way to live your life. And I had that for 8 years, and I was taking high doses of steroids. High doses, like 60 milligrams in the beginning, and I kind of got it down to about 15, 20 milligrams after 8 years. But every morning and every day, I was reminded that I was sick. But the great news is, 5 months after doing that, I was off all meds, and that's 5 years ago.
So it's absolutely spectacular. So that's it. It's the story that we keep hearing all the time. Folks who are on medications, especially these fairly broad shotgun approach medications like steroids. So I'd love to get into this a little bit. You don't seem like the juicing type to me. How'd you even get started?
Yeah, well, Dr. Oz, I think that when you're sick and when you're fat, you kind of know it. You don't need anyone to tell you. You're reminded every day by looking in the mirror. You get out of the shower in the morning and and I was getting sick and tired of people asking when the twins were due too, so that was a bit of a problem. But when I turned 40, I've got a saying that we spend the first 40 years of our life trying to kill ourselves and the next 40 trying to stay alive. And I was the poster boy for that. Right?
Well stated.
So when I hit 40, that 4 being in front of my number was that, a 3 is kind of young, but the 4 I went, oh. And I looked in the mirror and had a really good, hard, honest look at myself, and I didn't recognize the man looking back. And I knew the athlete, the football player, the guy who was lean and mean on the surfboard down in Australia, and I just said, who put me in a time machine and sent me here? Yeah. So I just said, we're the most successful species on this planet, and we've lived mostly on plant food. I have turned my back on Mother Nature. I need to run towards her and see if she will embrace me.
And she did embrace you. And so many of us aren't making that jog right now.
No, it's hard. I don't think telling people what to do works, Dr. Oz. I think it's all about you've got to see people doing stuff, and shows like what you're doing and illustrating and showing people who change. That inspires people, that educates people, and above all, it entertains, because it has to be fun. If you're going to make significant changes in your life, it's got to be fun.
So you must have tried other diets before. And why did the juicing work when the regular old-fashioned diets did not?
I actually think because it was quite simple, believe it or not. It might sound hard to the audience, but it was simple because I knew what I had to do. I had to get up and just go and find a whole bunch of plants, all across America. I had my truck, I had my juicer in the back, right. And I would find places, but I would get out there and I would go out and get all sorts of plant food. And because I was putting that into the system and I was actually just drinking that, my body was being nourished. My cells were getting the nutrients they needed. So when you start to feel well, once again, it's easier.
So what is so special about juicing? Why can't you just eat the fruits and vegetables? And I've got a bunch of them here. Sure. I mean, I look at this and I think to myself, you know, and on the show we have done this, we've said, eat this, don't bother putzing with it.
Yeah, well, the problem is, Dr. Rosen, people aren't eating it, are they? They're not eating it. So let's make it fun. Let's get the rapid absorption. Because what essentially we've got here, this is actually the ingredients that have made up this juice. Now, there's a lot of produce there for you to eat. I don't know about you. I'm a big eater. But to eat all of that would be quite hard for me in the morning. Yet I can take that and I can drink all of what I call the harnessed energy, the captured sunlight, the magic that's gone into this cucumber, into this celery, into this apple, and we're just getting rapid absorption straight into our system.
And the video's done. Okay, so so I just wanted to share this video with you guys just so you can see that the juice has worked for many people. It worked for this man, Joe Cross. I will recommend watching the entire documentary. It's like an hour and a half long. It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, something like that. But it's really inspiring. And inside of the documentary, he mentioned how he even inspired someone to do the same thing. It was a truck driver, and he was really sick, and he did the same thing, and he, you know, it really helped. So it really works. If you guys really treat the body and give the body what it needs, no matter what the condition, the body can start to restore. That's just how we were created, how God created us. And the beautiful thing about God is that how he made us is that no matter how degenerated the body becomes and how many years of abuse it has received, it can regenerate if we give it the right things. If we are willing to make the sacrifice, the results are sure to happen. So no matter the condition, remember the three basic things the body needs. It needs to be cleansed. You need to cleanse the body, nourish the body, and strengthen it. Those three things are a solid start to any wellness program. Okay, so I have one last question for you, Jocelyn. What are you doing now to keep things under control?
Well, one thing that I do above everything is make sure that my diet is 100% plant-based. I still am eating raw. I would say my diet is anywhere from 80 to 85, 90% raw. And then the other percent that's cooked, I make sure that it is whole grains, they're wholesome foods. I'm not eating anything artificial. Sugars and all of that, I eliminated. I also get in the habit of reading my ingredients. Because even the foods that are packaged and they look kind of simple, you'll be surprised when you read the ingredients. They have chemicals, preservatives that you don't even know about. So I make sure that the ingredients that or the food that I get that's made already, that the ingredients are minimal and that I understand them all. It's very important to understand what you're putting in your body. And then lastly, I pray about it. When I was with my aunt, part of the healing process was intensive prayer, reading the Bible, and I still practice that today because even though we're doing these things, God is the ultimate healer, and he's the one that facilitates these things through the things he's given us on earth.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So yeah, so it's a journey, and it's something that we have to be conscious about and decide. We have to be intentional about taking care of our bodies. We are responsible for what we put in our bodies. We are responsible for the result that we get. So sometimes we are very busy. We don't have time to do this. We don't have time to do that. But in the long run, as we make that sacrifice, we will reap the benefit. And I believe, and I'm a strong believer that the greatest wealth is your health. So take care of your body. And just one last thing. I said it was the last question, Jocelyn, but I know that for many people, including myself, it's not easy to let go of those favorite foods that we like that might not be really the best. And I know it wasn't easy for you either, but what are you doing to help yourself with that struggle? Is there any advice or anything you can tell us that will help us too?
Well, I have two main things. And I'm going to use this example that I went through recently just to show the practicality of them. So It was actually the advice that you gave me when I called you. I was in desperation because I did 4 weeks with my aunt. I was at her place under her supervision, and then I came home, and then I was on my own to do this protocol. And I was doing it successfully for 2 weeks, but I was getting very tired because I was exercising a lot of willpower, and I had been doing that a lot lately. So I was getting to this point where it's like, I just want to eat normal again. And I wanted something so fatty. I wanted something cheesy. I wanted pizza. I was just like, well, I'm going to get pizza today because I've been doing so good. I need it. My soul needs to eat this. No. And I called my aunt because I said, you know what? I owe it to myself. I've been 6 weeks plant-based. I just owe it to myself to see if I can make it through. So I texted my aunt, and I was just like, I'm having a hard time. I really want to get pizza. And she told me, well, have you been praying about it? She told me that I have the willpower. I just need to ask God for it. And the verse she gave me was Philippians 4:13, and it's the famous one we all know. It's, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So with that example, the 2 pieces of advice I want to give is always depend on God and have a good support system, because a lot of times we think we can do things on our own, but without a good support system, when you need someone to lean on for strength, there'll be no one there if you don't have one. So those 2 things.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jocelyn. And last, I would just like to, we're coming to the end, so I just want to talk about nutrients that support the immune system. And vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin B12, vitamin B6, zinc, iron, copper, selenium. These things are very good to support. And I just want to give you a little bit of example of some herbal sources of these things that I just mentioned. I have a book here that talks about it. So like some herbal sources of vitamin A, you can find it in alfalfa, dandelions, red clover, rose hips. You can get vitamin A with those. You can also get your vitamin C, of course, with red clover, nettles, plantain, alfalfa, chickweed, garlic, ginger, dandelion, echinacea. You find a lot of vitamin C. Your vitamin D, you can get it in the sun, but also you can get it with alfalfa. Dandelion, watercress is high in vitamin D as well. Comfrey, burdock, echinacea, slippery elm. So you can get all your vitamins and all your nutrients in the plant kingdom. Okay, so I'm wishing each one of you health and strength with God's help. Thank you so much.
Well, that is an amazing story. And I don't know, it's such discipline though, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of discipline and I think an awareness too. And Jocelyn mentioned regarding looking at labels closely, and sometimes some things are don't even require labeling. Some of these toxins that are so easily found in some of our foods, and I'm just wondering. I mean, how do you get to that point where you are so careful that you're monitoring? Because I know in our case here at our home, we wash everything, even if it is organic, just because of airborne toxins that can land on these plants, these leaves, and so on. And it's just kind of amazing to me that the greed and the way the economy works, that these things are just not really important to a lot of people, but they're making us sick. So how do we get to that point of being so aware?
What we eat or don't eat can affect our immune system. This study was conducted to determine the effect of the consumption of brightly colored vegetables on the immune system. The first 2 weeks, basically no fruits and veggies, then 2 weeks drinking 1.5 cups of tomato juice every day, then carrot juice, then spinach powder. This is a graph of a marker of immune function over those 8 weeks. Within just 2 weeks of a fruit and veggie deficient diet, immune function plummets. But just 1.5 cups of tomato juice and can bring us back from the ashes. Not 5 servings a day, just that one tall glass of tomato juice. But the carrot juice alone didn't seem to help as well, nor did the powder equivalent of about 1 serving of spinach. This says to me 2 things. 1, how remarkably we can affect our immune function with simple dietary decisions. And 2, not all veggies are alike. Though this study was repeated looking at other immune markers, and the tomato versus carrot appeared more evenly matched, there is one family of vegetables we definitely don't want to miss out on. Inflammation, leaky gut, all because of an absence of AHR ligands. In other words, an absence of cruciferous vegetables in our diet: cabbage, collards, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. So, do people who eat healthier actually get sick less? Those who eat more fruits and vegetables appear to have a lower risk of getting an upper respiratory tract infection like the common cold, whether they're otherwise vegetarian or not. Even just 1 added apple a day may help keep the doctor away. The common cold is so innocuous, though. Why not test against something stronger? One can also look at more serious respiratory infections like influenza. Looking at the relationship between various risk factors and influenza-related hospitalizations in the United States, they found that a 5% increase in the prevalence of obesity was bad, associated with 6% increased hospitalization rate, but physical inactivity was worse, 7%. But just that tiny bump in the rates of low fruit and vegetable consumption may increase flu-related hospitalization rates even more. And the common cold isn't always innocuous. A common cold during the first trimester of pregnancy is associated with a number of birth defects, including one of the worst, anencephaly, a fatal malformation of the brain. More recent data suggests it's the fever, as anti-fever drugs appeared able to prevent the possible birth defect-causing effect of the common cold. But even better, to not get sick in the first place. 1,000 women and their diets were followed before and during pregnancy, and women who consumed more fruits and vegetables had a moderate reduction in risk of upper respiratory tract infection during pregnancy, and this benefit appears to be derived from both fruits and vegetables instead of either alone. Whole fruits and vegetables provide a natural balance of all sorts of things that may improve our immune function in a complementary, combined, or synergistic manner that could account for the protective effect observed from high consumption of both fruits and vegetables. Or maybe that's the only way they got enough. The women who appeared protected in this study were eating nearly 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, compared with only 5 servings of fruits or 4 of veggies. That may fulfill some arbitrary 5 or 6 a day minimum, but may be insufficient for effective immunity. For example, in that famous study I profiled previously, elderly individuals randomized into a 5-a-day group did have an improved antibody response to their pneumonia vaccination, compared to just 2 servings of fruits and veggies a day, an 80% increase. But only 30% reached their target levels, 12 out of 40. 6 times better than the 2-a-day group, but maybe 8, 9, or 10 a day would have worked even better.
That's a general question.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, how do we get to that point? I mean, I mean, I think you've done a great job of studying, of becoming aware of what's in the literature and so on. But I'm really thinking that each person should really take a responsible approach to finding out what is really going on with food. Even though I am a vegetarian, are the vegetables of the quality, or how should I even clean them appropriately to get rid of pesticides, for example? And that kind of detail sometimes is often overlooked.
Can I say something? I'm Gwen from the church. I've enjoyed Serena's presentation, really enjoyed it. I'm vegetarian. I grew up vegetarian. My mom was an herbalist. And I still stay with the herbs, even though I have sickle cell anemia and rheumatoid arthritis. And so I got rheumatoid 2 years ago. My joints all swole up. I could barely get out the bed and walk. And there are times I work from home because I work for CVS. And there are times I couldn't even finish work. I fall asleep right there on my computer because I'd be so exhausted. But I started doing the things that I said, let me go back to my Back to Eating book.
Yeah.
And I started doing my my turmeric. I did a lot of that.
Right.
Plus, I ended up getting some white willow bark. And everybody asks me, well, what's white willow bark? It's like taking aspirin.
Right.
So it helps the pain. Even though when I finally was told to go to see my bone and joint doctor, and she put me on medication, I was already feeling better with the pains in the joint. But as you said, the most important thing is to be stable, and noticing the vegetables nowadays are not as good as they used to. I do try to grow some, but I still get fresh vegetables. And I remember going in the grocery store, and this guy was following me around, and he said, ma'am, I just wanted to ask you, it takes you so long to pick these vegetables. And I said, well, they got to be firm. If I'm looking at a cucumber, cucumbers nowadays are not as firm as they used to, so they're not going to last in your refrigerator too long. And so he said, wow, so you really pick? And I said, yes, I do. But I still stay healthy with that. Every now and then, I do have my favorite food that I like, and I'll break away from it, but I get back into it. And I keep my body cleansed with some natural herbs once a month, So, and I remember my oncologist told me that I'm the healthiest sickle cell person he has ever seen.
Oh, wow.
And I said, because I do not take everything the doctor prescribes. And they've gotten to know me so well that they said, we know you're not going to take it. And I said, no, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to find out what I need to do to make myself better. So don't even prescribe it, because I'm not going to take it.
Wow.
But I've learned a lot from Serena, and I think I wrote them down so I can follow the basic. That's my problem, because one of them I don't follow like I should. So I'm going to follow the basic. Well, thank you, Serena.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. One of the things that I noticed, even in my own experience, sometimes, even if you don't do the whole 9 yards, but you just do small changes, you will start to notice some difference. Even if you do a small change, you will notice something different.
Right.
So, and then the thing is that we don't have the answers to everything, and we can't protect ourselves from everything. But if we do our best, conscientiously do your best to eat right, just leave the rest in God's hand. God will protect us. He promised that. But we have to do our best to our ability.
Right.
And leave the rest to Him.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. A couple things for the group. Really thank everybody for coming out tonight. We do want to, if anyone has questions and/or any other testimonies similar to Gwen's, just to reinforce the high points that we've reviewed tonight. Any questions we'd love to entertain at this time.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, please.
What are the raw foods that you had? That is one question. Secondly, I find wax on apples. So how do you remove the wax on apples? Or is it okay in having that wax along with apples? Thirdly, my question is, I have issues with bowel movement. So can you tell me how something to help me have regular bowel movement?
Okay. Okay. So the first question was with the raw foods, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a recipe book, so we used that. But what we did was, like, I should have if I thought about it, I would have made some pictures and show you guys. But we had like salads, a lot of salads, but we became very creative in how we ate, prepare the salads, very, very colorful, beautiful, kale, cabbage, cucumbers, we grated some carrots, we used a lot of onions and garlic, and just made a natural dressing using olive oil or flax oil or any good oil, coconut oil. We put that there. We use Celtic sea salt and apple cider vinegar or lemons, and it was really delicious. Another time we made a what was that called, a hummus sandwich, and it was made with the leaves of a cabbage or something, a type of cabbage, and we just made the hummus sandwich, and it was really delicious. So it's just using ideas. And a lot of time we made like an avocado salads. Other time we make a fruit salad instead. And so yeah, there's like tons of
smoothies too.
Oh yeah, we did the smoothies as well. The smoothies were loaded with a lot of seeds, like pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds. So when you drank this smoothie, you were really full. I mean, you weren't hungry for a while. It was very filling. It was very nurturing. So yeah, and you can find a lot. I mean, there's like tons of recipes online that you can find, raw recipes and beautiful things that you can find. So yeah, and then what the second question was, something about apples. I didn't understand that word that you said.
The wax on the apple.
Oh, the wax on the apple. Well, someone had mentioned to me some time ago that when that is there, you could either soak it in some apple cider vinegar and baking soda for a while, and then after that really scrub it. So that's one option, or the other option will be just to peel the skin off and eat it. But I don't like to peel the skin because all the nutrients is right under the skin.
Right.
But I normally don't find that with the organic apples, though.
Right.
I don't find that. So just try to buy organic as much as you can, because you won't have that problem with the organic one. And the next question was something for bowel movements. There are a lot of effective herbal laxatives that you can buy. One of them is Cáscara Sagrada. It's very good. So you could try that. Prune juice is very good as well. So that could be helpful. I don't know if, Michael, you have any other suggestions?
Those are my two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Aloes too is good.
Aloes, yes, aloes does
You know
work.
what? Can I throw one in, Michael?
Sure.
Chia seeds.
Chia seeds, okay.
A tablespoon of chia seeds with a quarter of a cup of water is not only cleansing to your colon, scrubbing to your colon, actually.
Yes, that's
but
right.
it helps both ways. If you're too regular, it helps a little bit, gel it up, and yeah, it's another excellent one along with the cascara.
Yeah. One thing to note, as you do your research, Jacob, you want to look for things that are not habit forming.
Yeah.
right? So that you don't get stuck with having to use them. Cascara sagrada, Dr. John Bergman, he's a chiropractor. He actually did some research on Cascara sagrada. Very fascinating that what it works at is the actual muscular movement of the large intestine, right? So it peristalsis is the correct word for it. So it pushes everything down. Well, guess what? He actually had an experiment done on a corpse where he put the Cascara sagrada on the large intestine and was able to get a contraction from it. And it wasn't dead for a long time, but just recently passed away. It was still responsive to the presence of the herb. So it's very powerful. It's not habit forming, and at the same time, it's very gentle in that it really doesn't, for most people at least, cause a lot of griping and so on.
Does that spell like Caspara?
Okay, so the translation is sacred bark. So it's a Spanish term, cascara, Cascara. That's one word. And then sagrada is Sagrada. Cascara sagrada.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sacred bark, yeah. And then also, my wife is here telling me what to say instead of coming over and saying it.
We want to see you, Fuchsia.
Available over the counter?
Yeah. Oh, I would go to any one of the vitamin stores, the health food stores. Cascara sagrada is definitely very, very popular. I use Cascara sagrada personally every couple of weeks just to get that intestinal cleanse. And I use the inexpensive version, just the name brand stuff right out of the store. You don't have to get an expensive brand for it. It works very, very well. And
what about senna?
Senna is powerful too.
Senna is very powerful. If a person is very constipated and really can't go, then that's what you want to use senna.
Very powerful.
I just wanted to say that milk thistle is a pretty good one too. Milk thistle, and you can tell them why.
Well, the milk thistle is more of a detox for the blood and the liver and so on. But what it does when you combine it with cascara, it actually, you can tell by the smell that it's different.
Thank you.
You're getting the stuff out, in other words.
Out of the blood. Out
of the blood, and a lot of it is filtering through the large intestine as well. And so you can tell it's really, really different. We've done a number of just in-home experiments with that. And if you're having pain and so on because of inflammation in the neck and shoulders and so on, perhaps if you had a sugar fit one day and then you're in pain because of it, then you can go back and use the combination of the milk thistle and the Cascara sagrada. And when it comes out, when you literally are having it out, then the pain pretty much leaves within a few minutes.
Yes.
That kind of observation of some of the things that we've made.
No detox after you did that.
Yeah, so Dr. Junta is not with us tonight. He may be on our Facebook, and I'm not sure, but I do want to say this. So if you do all of that detoxing, right, you guys should know the second rule of detox, and he would be very proud that we're remembering him here. Anybody know what the second rule of detox is?
Don't retox.
Do not retox, right? Don't go back and tox again, right? Because so the foods that we're eating, we want to eat as pure as possible, as many of those high-level nutrients, the fruits, the vegetables, lots of raw foods to help clear the body out. So any other question for Serena or for Josie?
Yes, I have two questions. They're quite different. The first question, can you hear me? This is Nan. Okay, thank you. The first question is back on the fruits. Now with oranges and apples, and I learned this from someone, but I don't know if it's really a good idea. I put 1 drop of liquid soap, and then I put it under the faucet, and I wash the whole outside, with it. This way then, because if I'm going to put a knife through it, I'm going to be bringing bacteria from the outside inside into the fruit. Do you think that that's a safe idea?
I think you can, it's good. Yeah. Because one of the books I read, the author recommended using soap, but not any type of soap. It's like the Castile soap is a good soap to use to clean your vegetables. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay. And then the second question is, when someone found out I was taking flaxseed, the whole seed, not ground, she told me, oh, that's too risky. It could get caught somewhere like in the colon, and you risk getting diverticulosis, or however you say that. She says you should just only take flaxseed ground. So then I'm thinking, what about some of those other tiny little seeds, like sesame seeds and other seeds?
I believe that's only if you're prone to having diverticulosis.
Well, I've never heard about that. But normally, if I use the flax seeds, it's in the blender, so the blender just grind it up for me. And if you're going to grind the flax seed, it's best to grind it at the moment that you're going to use it, just to preserve the oils and its nutrients, to preserve it. But I never eat the flax seed just like that. I always put it in my smoothie, so it's grinded up.
Well, I mean, you could get it in a whole seed form, or you could get it ground. That's how it's sold both ways. But like the whole seed, you could easily throw that in with the granola and not notice it. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
Or in a salad. Yeah, but still eating that whole seed, is it risky versus ground?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean,
okay.
But you know what? Again, I think, as Michael said, if you're prone to any of these irritable bowel syndrome type of problems, then it may be good perhaps to soak them or sprout them first or something like that, so that you still get the nutrients without the heavy.
Oh, so diverticulitis, that falls under irritable bowel syndrome?
It's all in that genre of right. It's not the same identical.
Now, what is the difference between irritable bowel syndrome and inflammatory bowel syndrome?
I'm not sure I know that.
Okay. I'll go online and read it.
Yeah, Sally might be aware now, but that. Yeah. Again, my wife is trying to get me to say something, and I'm getting distracted. Any other questions for the group, for Serena in particular, or for Josie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, at one point I thought I had IBS, and then I went to eating about 80% veggie, fruit, and I still eat eggs. I still have a little organic milk, and I am not I have great poop.
Well, I don't think irritable bowel syndrome is so much associated with the bowel movement. It's more about the irritation, the upsetness while the food's being digested. Isn't that how it goes?
I don't
know.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Can I, Michael, since I have the severe IBS, can I?
Yes, this is a live person here with some information. Yeah.
Let's hear.
First of all, I want to say, because I have IBS and really bad, I do the seeds. A couple things I want to say really fast. If you're going to do the seeds, grind them up yourself. Do not buy the seeds ground. Mm-hmm. Okay, especially things like flaxseed. You do not want to buy them ground. The seeds ground up in the smoothies help my IBS. Okay, my IBS can start anywhere. in the digestive system, all the way down to having a bowel movement. So it can affect everything there. I just want to say something about the diverticulosis and diverticulitis, and they are two different things. One is actually an infection, but you right, an inflammation. But if you have diverticulosis, it doesn't mean you can't eat seeds. If your diverticulosis is in an inflamed state, that's when you have to lay off certain type of seeds. That's when they can irritate it. So
Okay.
I wanted to shout out to Gwen. Gwen, yeah, my mother used Back to Eden, and we had comfrey tea all the time in the house. Serena, fabulous. Kudos to Serena. And man, I didn't even know your niece. Her skin is like radiant.
Oh yeah, that was another good side effect of the juice and the raw food, is that her complexion was glowing naturally without anything.
Yeah, so what Fuchsia was trying to get me to mention, I think somebody had asked what were the vegetables that were included, and I know Serena had mentioned them earlier, but kale, spinach, watercress, lettuce, dandelion, and those are things that we use quite a bit of, and we do it every day. Every single day. So we're just about to the end of this time, guys.
Michael, can I throw one more thing out? I'm sorry, Jacob, water for when you want to get regular.
Yeah,
sure. And we have gone through this with different meetings. Be hydrated. Keep that water in your system. That's the first thing that will happen if you don't have enough. One of the first things that can happen by not having enough hydration and water in your system is to irregularity. So I can't push enough that you need water.
Yeah.
Water for sure. And I'm also a person that uses the Cascada Sagrada. I use it daily because it's fabulous. It's really, really good stuff. And it helps me with my IBS too. So issues with that.
But it doesn't become.
Excellent job. Thank you.
And also remember that water in the morning, first thing in the morning, take a slice of lemon and put it in your water. That'll keep you regulated too.
Amen.
And it
Every
also
morning.
your body as well.
Yes.
Every morning.
Alkaline. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, guys. I do want to wrap this up, but one of the things that I'm observing, remember Dr. Thomas last month, he had a really great presentation. He took us into the Linus Pauling Institute on the website. And what we heard today, even though it's from a different perspective, it's really the same thing. And that's important for us to realize. And I know that Ms. Arena said it a few times. If you give the body what it needs, it will heal itself. And so we have this responsibility from this point forward, if we haven't started yet, to really just put one thing in practice that we haven't done before, like the water, for example, or using raw foods and beginning with that, or adding some seeds into our smoothie. Those things just go a long way in a relatively short period of time to get the body's healing forces in play. So wanted to encourage all of us, not only to just be healthy, but to be healthier every day. And healthier every single day than the day before. So we're going to wrap it up with prayer. Michael Hartong is going to offer a word of prayer for us.
Heavenly Father, how grateful we are that we have this opportunity to learn. You have put everything on this earth for us. And I thank you. I thank you for these meetings. I thank you that we can come back around from other things we've learned from previous meetings and use them, especially with people that are new in our meetings, Lord. Let us be able to reach out. We are reaching out with your word when we're reaching out with this health. Thank you so much for the opportunity that we have to to not only fellowship with each other, but to have a moment to really think about what we're putting in our systems. Our bodies are truly the holy temple, and we need to treat them such as that. And you show us by healing us in natural ways. Thank you for this meeting. Thank you for this opportunity. Please bless everybody that's here tonight. And I want to thank, Lord, thank you for Michael, that he has brought these meetings to us. In Jesus' name, bless this. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Next month, October 13 is the day. It'll either be one of two topics, either be my story on recovering from diabetes. I will be celebrating 11 years of diabetes free.
Yay.
Yeah. And I like to tell my story. And I also have another speaker potentially there that has been doing fasting in a very serious way and has already lost 70 pounds. And it's just to share his experience and some of the research that he has done with not only long-term fasting, but intermittent fasting as well. So look forward to seeing you all out again. Look and be healthier every single day until we get together again.
Thank you for arranging
Thank
these
you.
kinds of meetings.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Dale.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.